On today's episode, we feature a new history here at What's Going On with Shipping, Sea History. I'm your host, Al Mercogliano. Welcome to today's episode. So you tune in here to see the latest in global shipping. However, occasionally I do features on naval and maritime history. I'm a historian after all. I can't help but get away from it. Doing a 5-part series right now on the U.S. Navy's Military Sea Lift Command. But in my other roles I have, beyond being the host of this channel and the chair of a history department at Campbell University, I'm a trustee for the National Maritime Historical Society. And the National Maritime Historical Society puts out quarterly a magazine, Sea History. It's a great organization that does a lot, both philanthropic but also educational wise. Sea History 187 just came out, and what makes this really appealing to everyone is not just that you have to join NHMS to read the magazines, but they are available online for free. However, I do recommend joining. It is a great organization. What I want to do today is showcase the top 5 stories that are out there in sea history, give you about 5 minutes of history here, and entice you to go take a look and read the magazine. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. So this is the current issue of Sea History that is out for you. Again, you can get both a hard copy version of it. I always love this. I love being able to hold the magazine. I also like having them on my shelf. Makes me look a lot smarter than I actually am. But you can read them online. So we're going to look at the 5 stories here very briefly, give you a little taste for them, but you'll have the link so you can go in and read the entire stories at your leisure. Story number 1 deals with the demise of a historic ship, the Falls of Clyde. If you've ever been to Honolulu in Hawaii, you will have seen Falls of Clyde, an iron 4-masted ship that's been there since the 1960s. However, it is getting ready to go away because of the poor material condition. James Delgado, a absolute legend in the field, wrote this piece for Sea History, The Fall of the Falls of the Clyde. And the survey that was done recently on the Falls of the Clyde demonstrated that the ship is in really bad condition. This was a ship that was built back in Glasgow, Scotland, back in 1878. It was used by the Matson Steamship Company. Matson, which is synonymous with Hawaii, brought that ship into its service in 1907, making it the oldest sailing oil tanker still in existence around the world. The ship had been brought to Honolulu back in October of 1963, and after 2.5 decades, in 1998, it was opened up as a museum ship. But as the magazine article entails, the ship has fallen into disrepair, the ship is partially flooded, and plans are to take the ship away and scrap it. But what Jim talks about in the story is so much preservation went in to document and catalog the ship that while we're losing a historic ship, we're not losing the information about the historic ship. And I think that is really important. Second story comes from Dave Rocco, Guardians of the Harbor, exploring the vital role of fireboats. Now, Dave serves on the board of directors for the Fireboat McKean Preservation Project and has been involved as a volunteer for many cultural and environmental initiatives in the Hudson Valley and New York City. Now, anybody who knows me knows my fascination with fireboats. And matter of fact, one of the precursors to this channel getting started was a series of videos I did when USS Bonhomme Richard caught fire in San Diego. I have done videos since then on the follow-up. Dave takes the vital look at looking at fireboats across the United States, from New York Harbor all the way across to the West Coast. And one of my favorite sections he has in here is a list of historic fireboats in the United States, their role, what they have done, looking at that evolution of fireboats as they evolved in the U.S. harbors. Fireboats do much more than just spray water and look good during parades and events. They provide a key service in harbors, and it's not ironic that while this story just came out, there was a report that came out in Canada about how Canada was unprepared to fight the fire on board the ship, the Zim Kingston, when that vessel came into Vancouver on fire. And it was only fortunate that there were 2 large Maersk vessels in harbor to able to assist that. Fireboats play a vital role, not just in the ship and the boat itself, but in the crews, the training, the familiarization, and ensuring that harbors are safe. So a great story to take a look at. Story number 3 deals with cables in conflict in the South Atlantic. You may think when you pick up your cell phone and call a friend who's located halfway around the world that your phone is bouncing off a satellite. It's not. Almost all communication is done by cable, and in particular by undersea cable. And in this story by Dr. Charles Mayer, Cables in Conflict in the South Atlantic, he looks at a confrontation that happened between the United Kingdom and Brazil over Trinidad Island. This is not Trinidad in the Caribbean. This is Trinidad in the South Atlantic. Dr. Mayer studies history at the University of British Columbia, King's College London, and the Royal Military College of Canada, and his feature here takes a look at this event taking place in the late 1800s, dealing with the connection of cables all the way from the United Kingdom through the Atlantic and connecting both Montevideo and Buenos Aires to the UK. One of the big things that the United Kingdom did in the late 1800s was connect their overseas empire through these undersea cables. It gave them a huge advantage when it came to not just military, but also commercial. They could relay information to ships coming into harbor. Hey, this is a better place to go sell your goods, or you should head to this port to go pick up goods because you can get them at a better cost. It gave the British a huge advantage in terms of their ability to communicate and do business. Today, information is the key. We see it all the time in ocean shipping. Fourth story in sea history for the summer of 2024 is this one, A Maritime History of the United States, Commerce by Sea. This is by Charles Robinson and Len Tantalino. They are both artists working for the American Society of Marine Artists. And this is a great depiction of commerce in the United States, both in terms of the text, but also in the visual images. I got a few other images here I wanted to show you because I thought it was just great, especially these, this tugs at my heart. This is modern shipping, and lots of times when you do maritime art, it's of ships of the age of sail. But here you see vessels in a much different light. So, for example, Esteemed Splendor. This is a painting by ASMA President Patrick O'Brien, not the writer of the Jack Aubrey books, but the artist. And he did that painting for ExxonMobil. And then A Gathering of Giants. This is by Edward Griffith, showing container ships that were pioneered by Malcolm McLean. Here you have a Yang Ming Line vessel coming in. One of the things I wanted to feature is that at the very end of this month's Sea History, you have this advertisement for the book that they put together, A Maritime History of the United States, the Creation and Defense of a Nation, 250 years of dedication. I'll have the link to this, so if you want to order the book, you can go ahead and grab it. The last story is another one dealing with a historic ship. This one is not as bad as the first one on the Fall of the Clyde, but it is getting there. And this is, could this be it for the SS United States? SS United States was the last ocean-going liner to grab the Blue Ribbon. That was for the fastest passage across the Atlantic. This ship was the iconic image of post-World War II America, the fastest, largest passenger liner built at the time. Just an amazing piece of technology when it came into being. Unfortunately, it met its peak performance just as the DC-8 and the Boeing 707 was coming in. In 1958, more people crossed the Atlantic by jet airliner than by cruise ship, by passenger liner. And SS United States, which has been lay berth up in Philadelphia, is now facing its end. And this story takes a look at the situation facing the SS United States. What are some options available to it? And again, it's really facing that moment where just before what we saw with the fall of the Clyde. So those are the 5 articles featured in the summer 2024 edition of Sea History, but there are also some other features that are included in every issue of Sea History. So, for example, one of the things is Sea History for Kids, where they take a element from what's going on in sea history and do it. In this case, they are featuring a specific person, a maritime career. In this case, Layla Linares, who I know very well. Layla was the senior program manager for the construction of the National Multi-Mission Security Vessels, the new state training ships. And so they feature her in the story. She's a naval officer. She works for the U.S. Maritime Administration. Just a really interesting career path for this young, very successful woman who I know we're going to hear a lot more of in the maritime industry. You also have animals in sea history, so every issue has a feature. This one in this episode is dealing with the Atlantic gray whale. Then you have Curator's Corner. One of the things that I do love about the National Maritime Historical Society is it's not just history, we're also looking at museums. So there's always a feature in here for museums, particularly nautical and maritime museums. In this case, they're featuring the Nantucket Historical Association. And then you have news, Marlinspike News. This one features all things shipping, and this is historical ships. In this case, they're looking at sail ships and sail training that is available out there for everyone. They also will have some recent news. So in this issue, we see Women on the Water, their 12th annual conference. The Maritime Administrator, Admiral Ann Phillips, was there. She spoke at this. This is an event that's been going on, really ensuring the safety and success of women at sea and at shore and in the maritime career. And then the last feature in this episode that's really of importance is a change at the helm of the National Maritime Historical Society. A new executive director came in, and that is Kathy Green. I've known Kathy Green for a long time. Kathy and I are both graduates of the East Carolina University Nautical Archaeology and Maritime History program. And Kathy had been the director of the Wisconsin State Maritime Museum, and now she's coming in to take the helm at the National Maritime Historical Society. So a really interesting development that we're seeing here. And what I hope to do is feature every quarter this next issue of Sea History, look at the top 5 stories, talk about whatever issues are featured in the magazine, and also, hopefully in between there, go in the months in between, dig into the archives, because this is issue 187 of Sea History, but all issues are available. The National Maritime Historical Society got a grant from the U.S. government to preserve historical information, so they were able to digitize all their past magazines, so they're all readily available so that you can basically pull them up and take a look at them. You can load them up on your readers if you like. You can download them and scroll through and take a look at the entire run of Sea History and also all the features that were in here and the full stories. Every story I mentioned is in here in full detail so that you can go back in and take a look at it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. Leave a comment, share it across social media, and if you can, go support the National Maritime Historical Society. I'll have the link at the end of the show here, at the end of the video here. You can go ahead, go right over to that site, link to it, take a look. If you want to become a member, they do great projects. They help sponsor Maritime History Day every year across schools in America with a maritime focus added to it. They have a great outreach program. They do dinners and banquets to honor those in the profession who have done a lot to advance maritime history out there. And it's just a great organization if you want to find it. And plus, hey, if you want a nice magazine sent to you every three months, then get Sea History. It is a great read all the time. You can pick it up in bookstores too, on the shelves, but why not just order it, have it delivered to you, and you have it right there and you can read it at your leisure. I have my entire library here. Until our next episode, this is Al signing off.